up? What are you doing here? Matter of fact, why is you out there with me? I'm trying to run the...
Hey, WWE lovers, welcome to Pinfall Headlines, your source for match recaps and breaking wrestling news. Hit that bell and let's roll. Wrestling fans, what unfolded in the ring that night was more than a brawl. It was an eruption of family emotion that shook the entire WWE landscape. Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, unleashed one of the most unforgettable moments in recent memory after watching two of his own, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, fall victim to the relentless power of Bron and Bronson Reed. What happened next was not just retaliation, it was the embodiment of heritage, pride, and protection. In that single night, Jacob Fatu reminded the world that the Bloodline story isn't written in victories or titles, but in the unbreakable loyalty that ties generations together. Understanding the heart of the Samoan werewolf. To understand Jacob Fatu's intensity, you have to understand what drives him. This is not a man chasing fame, he's defending legacy. The Bloodline represents decades of Samoan wrestling history, from High Chief Peter Maivia to The Rock to Roman Reigns. For Jacob Fatu, family isn't a storyline, it's sacred. When Breakker and Reed targeted his cousins, they didn't just pick a fight, they disrespected generations. That's what set the fire in motion. Fatu's silence in the weeks that followed wasn't retreat, it was calculation. While the rest of the roster moved on, he was plotting how to restore his family's pride and make the wrestling world remember why the Samoan dynasty remains unmatched. Calm before the storm. What made Fatu's response so unforgettable wasn't its speed, it was the patience behind it. He didn't storm out immediately demanding retribution. He disappeared. Fans noticed his absence from shows and social media, but what they didn't realize was that he was quietly preparing for the right moment. He studied his rivals' movements, learned their habits, and waited until they least expected it. That silence became its own kind of message, one far louder than any promo or confrontation. When a Samoan warrior goes quiet, it usually means something fierce is coming, and everyone watching could sense it. And the moment everything changed. The night of the confrontation felt cinematic. Bron and Bronson Reed, proud and confident after weeks of dominance, were leaving the arena unaware that the tide was about to turn. Out of the shadows stepped Jacob Fatu, composed, focused, and radiating the kind of energy that comes from both anger and purpose. What followed wasn't chaos for its own sake. It was Fatu's declaration that family bonds can't be broken. The energy in that arena flipped instantly. Fans didn't see a villain or a hero. They saw a man who had reached his breaking point. Every move he made carried meaning, not to destroy, but to deliver a message. You can't attack family and expect silence. A statement heard around the locker room. After the dust cleared, it wasn't just about two men lying in exhaustion or pride. The message was clear. When it comes to family, the Bloodline stands together. Every wrestler backstage felt that reminder. What Jacob Fatu demonstrated wasn't just aggression, it was unfiltered passion and respect for legacy. It told everyone watching that this story wasn't just entertainment. It was lineage, carried through every punch, every word, every moment of defiance. For younger talent watching, it was a wake-up call. Heritage matters, loyalty matters, and family isn't just a word thrown around for dramatic effect. Roman Reigns' quiet reaction. Roman Reigns' response spoke volumes without words. The tribal chief, usually calm and strategic, showed visible pride in seeing his cousin rise to defend what their family built. This was more than vengeance, it was restoration. Reigns' leadership of the Bloodline has always been about respect, discipline, and unity. Seeing Jacob Fatu channel that same energy reinforced the bloodline's bond, not as a faction, but as a family built on shared struggle and triumph. For Roman, this wasn't just another rivalry resolved, it was a reaffirmation that his family's strength runs deeper than championships or contracts. It runs in their blood. Jey Uso's redemption through brotherhood. Jey Uso, who had suffered both physically and emotionally from previous defeats, found renewed strength through Fatu's actions. Watching his cousin stand up for him reignited that family spirit that the bloodline was built on. Jey's reaction afterward showed gratitude mixed with determination, a reminder that even when the bloodline faces setbacks, their unity brings them back stronger. In the weeks that followed, Jey's confidence returned, his performances sharpened, and fans began to sense a rejuvenated purpose behind every match. Fatu's loyalty didn't just avenge Jey's defeat, it restored his fire. A new era of bloodline power. What happened that night reshaped WWE's entire power dynamic. For months, the bloodline's dominance had been questioned, but with Jacob Fatu's emergence, that narrative changed overnight. The group wasn't just surviving, it was evolving. Fatu brought a new layer of intensity and unpredictability that even longtime fans didn't see coming. His presence sent a message not only to Breakker and Reed, but to every rival faction in the company. The bloodline is more united and more dangerous than ever. It wasn't about violence or fear. It was about conviction, the kind that only comes from believing in something bigger than yourself. The WWE Universe Reacts fans erupted across social media, calling the moment one of the most emotional turns in recent history. Some saw it as long-awaited justice, others as a warning of what unchecked passion can become. Either way, it captured the essence of why professional wrestling resonates so deeply. It mirrors human emotion at its most raw. People related to Fatu's need to defend his own, to stand up for family no matter the cost. In an era where storylines can feel mechanical, this one felt real. It reminded audiences that wrestling at its best is storytelling through emotion, energy, and connection. Beyond the ring, the power of heritage. What Jacob Fatu represented that night went beyond the spectacle of the show. He reminded everyone that wrestling isn't just about titles and rivalries. It's about identity. The Samoan lineage is steeped in pride, discipline, and loyalty, and Fatu's actions paid homage to that history. He carried generations on his shoulders and made sure their legacy stayed alive in the modern era. It was more than revenge, it was a declaration of who he is and where he comes from. That's what resonated with fans long after the lights dimmed. Authenticity. The aftermath and what comes next. In the aftermath, both Breakker and Reed were forced to re-evaluate their standing in WWE. They weren't humiliated, they were humanized. Their overconfidence gave way to humility, and the respect that followed reshaped how fans viewed them. For the bloodline, this was a turning point. The family that once seemed fractured was whole again, bound by renewed purpose. The story isn't finished, it's only entering a new chapter, one where respect and family pride define every confrontation. The entire WWE roster now understands that when it comes to the bloodline, every action carries a consequence, and every rivalry touches something much deeper than competition. A legacy, written in loyalty. At its core, Jacob Fatu's eruption wasn't about violence, it was about validation. He showed that family isn't just something you claim, it's something you defend. In a world where ambition often outweighs loyalty, his actions reminded everyone that integrity still matters. The bloodline's legacy continues because it's powered by unity, heritage, and the unspoken promise that no one stands alone. Fatu didn't just avenge his family, He reignited the spirit that built the dynasty in the first place. Final thoughts. Moments like these remind us why wrestling is so much more than athletic performance. It's theatre, culture, history, and emotion fused into one unforgettable story. Jacob Fatu's stand for his family gave fans a glimpse into what wrestling is really about. Connection. The cheers, the intensity, the symbolism. It all comes back to love, pride, and loyalty. In one unforgettable night, the Samoan werewolf proved that the bloodline strength isn't measured by wins or losses. It's measured by how fiercely they protect one another. And in that truth, the bloodline remains unbreakable.